this doll blinked.
Hi everyone, we are Murasaki and Sake. So today, because it's the spooky season, we are gonna share some horror stories with you guys and hope you enjoy it. Let's just get into the video.
I think what I've actually heard is that summer season is the spooky storytelling season in Japan. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, because I read it somewhere that they think that the fear would make you so cold that you'll forget about the summer.
Ooh, I don't know the reasoning behind that. Okay, so I'll start with the first story that I have.
Okay.
And it's about a creepy doll. When I was a kid, I remember sleeping, like I fell asleep somewhere on a sofa. And my brothers planned something for me, okay? So when I woke up after that nap in the evening, it was dark outside and they had switched off all the lights.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I saw, and on the fan there was a doll. I was just hanging like this. And it was so scary. They used to pull such kind of pranks on me all the time. Because all of us were into like horror movies and all, so that's why. I'll start with my first story. So it's about a doll, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened in 1918, Japan, Sapporo. So there was a 17-year-old guy who went to an exhibition and he saw a doll at the window display.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very intrigued by the doll because it looked very attractive, almost like very enchanting, like otherworldly. It had that vibe to it. It had really deep black charcoal-like eyes. And he had a small younger sister, 2-year-old sister, and he instantly thought it was his sister. So he was going back home after a long time, and of course all of this is according to one version of the story. There are multiple versions of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So he got this doll. He thought that when I go back home, I'll give this doll to my younger sister. She'll be happy. So he took the doll home, and his sister basically fell in love with the doll. So she carried the doll around everywhere, slept with it, like got it ready and combed its hair and everything and fed it. Like they were always together, they were inseparable. And eventually the girl named the doll Okiku.
Mm-hmm.
So Okiku was the name of the child herself. Then she had the doll, and after 1 year, sadly, the yellow fever was spreading around in the area where she was living. And in this family, she was the one who got it, and she eventually died of yellow fever. So it was somewhere around 1990, and at that time, when she died, obviously she was in a lot of pain, and she died holding the doll really close to her. What happened was the family thought that they will bury the doll with the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was reading the story, it reminded me a lot of like the Egyptian death rites.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever they used to bury their like emperors and all, they used to bury them with a lot of their old stuff that they had when they were living. Belongings, jewelry, or like other things, scriptures and all, a lot of other things also. So they decided to do that, but because of some reason, because of some overlook from the government authorities and all, that couldn't happen. So then the parents thought in Japan it was a very commonplace practice, and it also happens in a lot of places today as well. They create a shrine inside of their homes for their dead ones. So they created a shrine for their daughter Okiku, and they placed the doll in that shrine because it was one of her favorite objects. Really weird things started happening around their house. Because they started hearing strange noises around the house, and they would find Okiku in weird places. A lot of times when they woke up in the morning, they found them sitting next to their bed. They just, because it was followed by a lot of strange noises, banging noises, whispering noises as if somebody's walking on the floor or something like that. So they understood it's something supernatural. And they consulted with a few shamans and spiritual priests of the area, and the priests also agreed to the fact that the doll might be possessed by the spirit of Okiku. So, of course, the parents were happy, sort of content with the fact that the spirit of their kid is still with them. So they just let the doll be, but then they decided to move places and they had to leave town. So when that happened, the parents decided to leave the doll behind because they thought that maybe their daughter would want to stay in the area that she was born and brought up in, even though she was like 3 years old when she died. So they decided to give the doll to the priests in the area to take care of. One of the major things about the doll that was famous in the entire area was that the doll's hair, after Okiku died, they had started growing.
So it feels like the spirit was in the doll.
In the doll, exactly. I mean, usually what we've seen in movies and all is that the object which is possessed by the spirit doesn't change that much. The appearance doesn't change. But what's fascinating about this case is that the doll's appearance in itself, one major part of the doll, which was its hair, they were changing. So the spirit was in a way changing the appearance of the object also itself. And not even just that, because it had like a traditional Japanese okappa hairstyle, which is like bob shoulder length hair. It started growing beyond its like shoulders and then knees and all, and it was very like haphazard all over the place, and it had various colors of hair growing. It was not just like black original hair of the doll, and it was tangled and split ends and like growing in a very weird way, as if like the spirit or the energy that is possessing it is trying to show something or prove something maybe.
That is so fascinating. Even when I heard the name of the dog, the name of the kid, Okiku, the immediate association, I don't know the kanji of the name. The immediate association I make is Okikunatte kudasai. And it feels like maybe her parents said that or something, and she maybe her spirit.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that while reading the story, but you're right. It sounds like, which is even like more sadder.
It's sad.
Even after going to the priests, strange things continued happening in the temple as well, and she started appearing in the dreams of all of the priests in the temple. But she did not appear as if she was angry or anything. She appeared fine. But the only problem was her hair was still growing. And so the priest decided to periodically cut shorter hair, like give her little haircuts every now and then. And she seemed pretty happy with it. Like after the haircuts and all, it's not like she was doing anything. Like she seemed content. And she was there in the temple, and people after a point actually started visiting Okiku, visiting the temple and visiting her as well. And people even now, whenever before the haircuts, if you visit the temple, you can actually see her hair to be below knee length. And it keeps on growing, and in fact it has started growing even more rapidly. And now one very recent thing that has happened is that whenever people visit, some people have started noticing that the doll's mouth is slightly opening up, and you can sort of see teeth growing inside, like little baby teeth. So, I mean, if you think about it, it sounds like a cute story because the spirit in the story is not harmful to other people, but it's still a spirit, it's still a possession story. And it's still pretty creepy that the doll, a non-living being, is growing hair and teeth now. So
that is creepy. I mean, the teeth part is more creepy.
It's creepy. That's definitely creepy.
Hair and all is fine because you can just cut it and it's just.
And it's very Japan-like, because in Japan there are like stories related to spirits, and the stories are not themselves very dark or evil, except for the story that I'm going to talk about later on. But yeah, that was the story.
So I think it's my turn to tell a story now. And so the name of this person is Clarita Villanova. It has villain in the name itself.
It sounds like the name of a Harry Potter character to me.
To me, it sounded like a name of some sort of vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but so a girl named Clarita Villanova is born in Philippines, and she was born in Philippines, Bacolod. I think I pronounced it right. In Hindi, like in my mind, I'm playing something else while saying Bacolod. But let's just move on to it. So she was born in Philippines, Bacolod, in 1935, and she's born to a single mom. And she has 3 older brothers, and she's the youngest. So only girl and youngest. And some say that her mother practiced occult and like she worshipped some deities and all, and that probably shaped her life later on. So her mother passed away sometime after World War II, and her father was never in the picture. So she was all alone. Her brothers, they refused to take her in. So at the age of 12, she's all alone with nowhere to go. This sometime in 1940s, and she's 12, 1945 or something. She's 12 years old with nowhere to go. So she starts prostituting. So she thinks that maybe if she moves to Manila, she'll find her father and maybe he would be willing to take her in. So she moves, but the life in capital is already it's
even more difficult.
It's even more difficult. So it's alleged that in 1953, when she's about 17 or 18, she offered her services to a police officer who was in like plain clothes. And that police officer, because the prostitution was illegal in Philippines, so he took her in and they put her in a jail. And this jail, I think it's called Bilibid Prison, the Manila City Jail now. And as I said, this is like it's famous for brutality and overcrowding. And overcrowding in itself is like a sort of a brutality. So
Anywhere, even outside of a prison.
Yeah, so she's here in the prison, and 2 days after she arrived, it's said that she screamed. People heard her screaming, and then she fainted. Upon like regaining consciousness, she said she was attacked by 2 people who bit her arms, legs, and like just all over her body, and people could see marks, biting marks. And she said it was 2 male fists. And I'll tell you the description of these things. That's what the media outlets called them. She described that one of these attackers was a very short man. Okay. So he's a 2 to 3 feet man, and he's plump. And the other one is really tall, like 7 feet tall or something. And they're both wearing black. Yeah. And she said they bit her and tortured her. And people could see marks. So they were just... Nobody could imagine where this is happening from.
Yeah.
And it happens like very frequently. And it reaches to the mayor of the city.
Okay.
And this mayor is like, he thinks that if this like keeps on happening, it would give Filipinos a bad reputation, and everybody would think that Filipinos are mentally unwell or something.
They were still thinking about the national reputation more than the person actually was facing all of these things.
Yes. So the mayor at that time, it's Arsenio something. Then the name itself is again Arsen.
Arsenio. So, again, sounds like a Harry Potter name.
Yeah.
Made up name.
Yeah, so this mayor, he visits the prison with a bunch of doctors, I think. And he actually sees the fit and everything happening. And the bite marks start appearing on her body, on Clarita's body. So they are like, oh, what to do now?
Yeah.
Because he went with doctors and all of that.
Yeah.
And it was still happening. Now here, because the case was gaining like popularity both in Philippines and outside of Philippines.
Yeah.
So this pastor, I believe he's called Lester something. I don't remember his name, but it sounds like a vampire's name.
It again sounds like that.
He thinks like he can cure her because it seems like a case of possession.
Possession, yeah.
And he goes to Philippines and he takes like sessions with her, 3 sessions with her. She gets cured, but nobody knows how the bite marks were appearing on her body. She had to be held down in the fence. It was so violent,
powerful.
so violent. I just remember seeing a picture, and there were like 8 to 10 people around her just holding her down.
one girl down.
One girl down.
Oh
She
my
was like 17. That was so
Very
terrifying.
short.
Yeah. The other angle I think I thought is maybe the possession never happened. Maybe she was actually harassed or something in the
Yeah.
prison. Sort of a happy ending. She gets cured, and then she moves back to her like hometown, and she gets married there and has kids. But nobody was able to understand how this was happening. So she was leading a quiet life. The last record I could find about her is, I think, from 1967. When she came forward, she was like, to all those people who have benefited from my stories, I want the royalties from that. Which is like,
Oh my god, a badass move.
which is like a badass move, because I think this pastor as well, he was able to grow his empire in Philippines because of this possession that happened. And it's like first ever recorded possession in the history of Philippines.
Oh.
It's a happy ending, but it makes you think whether it was really a possession.
Case of something that they were maybe trying to hide.